Okay. Welcome to our APA 7 workshop. This is the first one of the fall semester, and I am really excited to see you today. I'm Dozier, Education Librarian at SOLES, and APA has been, a big thing since last October. We have been working really hard to make sure that everyone is prepared with everything that they need in order to be successful and transition from APA 6 to APA 7. Okay, so we're going to talk through some of your questions today about APA 7, and I'm going to provide you with a bunch of resources that I use all the time. When y'all ask me APA questions, these are the resources that I go to. Okay, so they're authoritative, vetted resources. Okay. So we have the APA 7 manual here. And I'll be honest, it is the first style guide that I've bought in a really long time, probably since I was using MLA in undergrad. That's how different APA 7 is in comparison to APA 6, that I went and bought my personal copy of the manual. Okay. As far as housekeeping, you can have your camera on, camera off. We'll ask you to mute unless you want to ask a question or something. And if you don't feel comfortable talking, then you can type what you need in the chat. And this workshop is largely customized to what you are very curious about with APA 7. Okay? Because I don't need to read you the resources, but I do want to make sure that I show you which resources are going to be the best to answer the questions that you need. Okay? So if we're ready, I'm going to share my screen and also share the bit.ly link to the APA 7 quick guide that I've created, and it's widely shared all over SOLES. So if you have this already, this is a dynamic document that I'm updating frequently. As I learn new things about APA 7 that I think would benefit you, then I add it to the document. I would recommend that you bookmark this document so that you have it, quickly available. And it's one of the favorite things that I actually do and take care of. Okay. So. Let's share the screen. So tell me what questions you have. This is a 15-page document and ever growing. So if you need to take a minute to kind of scan over it, then feel free to do so. If you already have some APA 7 questions in your mind, then go ahead and either unmute yourself and ask or pop them into the chat.
See, I did have one question. On the running head for APA, for a professional paper, does it literally say running head colon and then what the running head is? Or is it just the running head in uppercase?
It is just the first 50 or so characters of your title. It no longer says running head. That is one of the major changes from APA 6 to APA 7, is that we no longer use the phrase running head right up at the top.
And it is all in caps though, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and fun fact, the running head does not have to exactly match whatever your actual title is. The running head is meant to be, a quick snapshot of, the importance of your title. So when you're thinking about how you're going to write your running head, because that's at the top of your pages, what are the keywords or the main idea from your title that's going to capture your reader's attention?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think that the template is linked on here somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, the professional style template is linked on this large document somewhere. It is. And where I could, I also added, and I'm continuing to add the corresponding chapter and page numbers from the APA 7 manual for these changes. Next question.
So V, I could ask another question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So V, I could ask another question, but I wanted to give someone else a chance to ask.
Go ahead. I think everyone else is still thinking.
Okay. So, all right. So I feel awkward not letting you see me, so I'm going to turn my camera on. Okay. So I'm writing a paper and I have one source that's by one author. And then the other source is, well, I have more than just two sources, but another source is by that same author and a second person who also has his last name. So I'm so confused about how do I differentiate them when I'm writing the paper and using an in-text citation. One's 2018 and one's 2012. So I feel, for a citation, it's easy enough to do. But when it's an in-text citation and I want to refer to the author, like, do I Like, how do I tell them apart?
Okay, so luckily for you, these works were written in 2 different years or published in 2 different years.
Mhm.
So the one that has the single author, say it's Smith 2014,
Mhm.
and you would just cite it as such. For the one where it's Smith and Smith, is that they both have the
Mhm.
same last name?
Same
Okay.
last name. Mhm.
Yeah, so if it's Smith and Smith 2018, your in-text citation would look just like that, because
Okay.
your reference list, it would clearly designate that one is Smith A and the other one is Smith B.
Mhm. Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have a chat question. When was APA 6 sunsetted? Officially, APA 7 launched in October of 2019, and most institutions who are using APA 7 really didn't start until some early adopters started in that spring. So January, February of 2020. Other institutions chose to finish out the year, the academic year, with APA 6, so that people weren't switching in the middle of the year, which is what we largely decided to do in SOLES, because it was just going to be a mess. So what we did was graduate students who entered SOLES in the summer semester started with APA 7. Also, the ones who started in fall 2020 started with APA 7. And I think I have a FAQ on the document that talks about students who graduated in summer 2020 that have been using APA 6 finished with APA 6. You're welcome. Our next question, are DOIs used anywhere in APA? Yes, they are. And a change from APA 6 to APA 7 is the formatting of DOIs in our reference lists and bibliographies now. Oh, let's see. DOIs were previously formatted in 2 ways, either as like a link or URL, or with DOI colon and then the number. Now for APA 7, all DOIs will be formatted as the URL or a link. And the DOIs provide a Perl or permalink to that resource. So it just made sense to go ahead and link the source. And also concerning DOIs, not every journal article uses DOIs. Some journal publishers have chosen not to, but it is actually expected that you do your due diligence to make sure that an item does not have a DOI before you provide some other type of link. And there is a DOI link checker that I think is available on this document, that you can type in the name of, your resource, and it will check and see if there's an existing DOI, because some are listed retroactively, but it's not your fault if you've already submitted your paper and then they publish a DOI. Oh, the joys of the page number. Yeah, so for Word, I really wish that they would fix this. When you are using the running head and then you have the page number over on the right-hand margin, I typically create a running head that's flush to the left, and then I tab over and use the space until I get to the position of where I want to be. That's the only way I've been able to do it in Word. Okay. Let's see. Let me scroll up to the changes. And if you get motion sickness, please look away. I will try to scroll slowly. Oh, there was the DOI formatting. Here we go. So this chart here lists the major changes from APA 6 to APA 7 that was concerning formatting. And I have the change, what it looked like in APA 6 and what it now looks like in APA 7, so that you'll have a reference for that. Let's see. Another chat question, what other application can you use to format APA 7? I have similar issues with Google Docs that I do with Microsoft Word, and the APA templates that tend to be provided by Microsoft Word or built in Google Docs, I tend to have issues with making sure that the formatting is correct. Some of them are built on the student paper template. And if you are a graduate student in SOLES, you are primarily, unless your professor has designated otherwise, you are using the professional template, which is on my to-do list of actually making a Word compatible APA 7 template and a Google Docs compatible APA professional 7 template to make life easier for all of us. More questions? Yeah, making the templates is on my to-do list. I'm hoping to get started on it in October with the plan to finish it by November. I know that's not super helpful for everyone, but I have a lot of things on my to-do list. Okay. I appreciate y'all too. Thank you. Y'all are my job security. So thank you. Okay. Oh yeah. The template is going to help everyone. You know how people look when I go into a class or I'm in a research consultation and I start talking about how citation managers can help you format your in-text citations and your bibliographies, and everyone gets really excited about that. I'm anticipating that that's how people are going to react about the templates, because it really takes, really helps you spend more time on the content and less time on trying to format things. This is amazing how much time we lose trying to make sure that our running head is flushed to the left and our page number is flushed to the right, and that the page number is showing up the way it's supposed to. I have a question about citation managers. Which citation manager do I prefer? Zotero is my top one. And I use Mendeley and EndNote for different projects, different collaborations with people, and as backups to Zotero because they have more storage. So I will take my previously active projects from Zotero and I will import those references into Mendeley or EndNote so that I keep my space in Zotero. But Zotero was primarily built to be an open source version of EndNote, so it has a lot of the same capabilities, but it has a much shorter learning curve. And I find that it is the best at grabbing PDFs when I'm trying to import references when I'm doing research. Perla. I don't think I know of Perla. I don't think that's one I've used. Is that a citation manager? There are hundreds of them out there. I will write that one down and explore it. I'm always interested in new tools and ones that are going to make us more efficient with our time, work smarter, not harder. And before I forget, the citation managers, Zotero, Mendeley, and EndNote now all have the APA 7 style. So, yeah. I'm definitely going to look up Perla or Perla. Not sure how to pronounce that. Okay. Yeah, that's the subscription base is one of the reasons why I like Zotero, because it is not based on an institutional affiliation, and I have been able to use the free version just fine. But Mendeley and EndNote both require an institutional affiliation or for you to pay for it, you know, whether at a discount price or full market price. And EndNote is fairly expensive. But you do have access to both of those for free with your USD affiliation. What other questions do you have? Do want to bring your attention, since no one has questions right now, I'll just quickly go over the major changes. And we now have guidance for how to cite a work that has up to 20 authors in a single reference. APA 6 only provided us guidance for up to 7. And while this may not seem super important for those of us who are in the social and behavioral sciences, it is more common to see when you have research institutes or collaborations between research offices. And instead of people being listed under like research office of whatever, you now can name each person who's a part of the project, and there's guidance to do that. But it's more common to see it in the sciences or the hard sciences than it is in the social and behavioral sciences. But at least we have the guidance to do it now. DOIs are typically listed at the top in that article information, so title, author, and then you'll usually see the DOI listed there. Sometimes it looks like a link, but you should be able to clearly see that it's a DOI number. And if it's not there, then make sure that you use one of the DOI link checkers to make sure that there isn't a DOI that, you know, is just not attached to that article yet. This is most common, or missing DOIs is most common in online first or perhaps preprints. Okay. Because they have not been attached to a particular journal issue yet or journal volume, sometimes those works don't have DOIs listed yet, but you know, that's where it is. The SOLES writing workshop recordings are usually posted on the SOLES Graduate Writing Center page. There's a couple of APA ones that I've done, so they are there. Okay. Let's see, what else? Here's the DOI formatting. This was APA 6, and now all DOIs are formatted as URLs. Another thing that you may not be aware of, we are no longer adding retrieved from before a URL in our reference list. Okay, you just put the link. Let's see. This one is tripping up a few people, the website name. Okay. And one of the reasons this was done was to add a little bit more transparency to the reference and give people a little bit more information about where they could potentially access a resource. Because sometimes a URL doesn't match what the name of the site is occasionally. So now after the title of the web page, you add the site name. In this case, laziness does not exist, and it's coming from the website Medium. Clearly designates which source our information is coming from. Okay. eBooks, we no longer have to include the format. Okay. So in that case, we used to care if it was a Kindle. Nobody cares about that anymore. We do care about that it is an ebook, so we need to know the format, but we don't necessarily need to get as granular as we used to, whether it was a notebook or a Kindle. It doesn't matter, it's an ebook. Okay. Also, I want to draw your attention to the fact that content contributors, for those of you who may be working with streaming media, DVDs, any type of creative works in which someone like a director or a producer would be credited. There's now specific guidance for how to do that, like a podcast host. So, how do block quotes work in APA 7? Okay, so we have a question about block quotes. Let me check my handy dandy manual. Block quotations. Page 46. Let's see. We have information on this page that tells us how a block quote should be formatted. And it says, the entirety of a block quotation should be indented from the left margin 0.5 in. If the block quotation spans more than one paragraph, the first line of the second and any subsequent paragraphs of the block quotation should be indented another 0.5 in, such that those first lines are indented a total of 1 inch in. I'm gonna find a visual example of that for you. $272. And I'll make sure to add this as an example on the sheet as well. Let's see if they have an example here. Okay. It may be really hard to see, but there's an example here on page 272. and an example on page 273 of the APA manual for how to make a block quotation with a narrative citation, meaning that you mention the author in the beginning and then the page number is cited at the end. There's another one, another example for how to format a block quotation consisting of 2 paragraphs. So I'll make sure to add that to the Google Doc so that y'all will have that readily available, okay? And it says that block quotations are 40 words or more. Just in case you never knew that. Apparently APA 7 says that we are 40 words or more for a block quotation. Okay.
I have another question. How do you go about citing like photos or yeah, illustrations or graphs?
And you're not including it in the appendix, so you're actually talking about this image within the text?
Yes.
Okay, let me see. So in general, for items that don't have page numbers, you would use, paragraph, the section name, if for audio visual works, it was on the next page. It says to directly quote from an audio visual work, audio book, YouTube video, TED Talk, TV show, provide a timestamp for the beginning of the quotation from the page number. For plays, it has some stuff. I'm gonna double check in the index here and make sure I'm not missing images. The index for the publication manual is really done well. It makes it incredibly easy for me to look up items. Copyright attribution, figure, stock. Now this is more about how to format a figure. I will do some more checking on that one and see if there's a specific way to do an in-text citation for an image that is being discussed. But it is likely that if you are talking about a particular image, you would have probably included it as a figure in your paper and could refer to it as such. Figure, blah, 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 is doing this. So I have a DOI link checker that I would recommend Actually, yes. Let me pull it up. Let's see. That's the resolver. So DOI.org also has a resolver that you can use. And there's one more that I use, and I'll post that one into the box as well. Let's see. Oops, I meant to send that to everyone. Go. And I will definitely add it to the sheet. I can't put my hands on it right now, but I will definitely add it to the sheet. It's one that's, it's not from DOI.org, but it's, I think it's coming from Crossref, but I'll definitely add it to the sheet. Okay. Next question. I'm surprised no one has asked me about the pronouns and descriptive phrases yet. Because that is a very, very new thing with APA 7.
Fee, could you go over that? I was reading it and it sort of makes me feel like I should only be using they, them, and their.
Well, according to APA 7, you should, unless you like verify that the scholar that you're talking about, person that you're talking about, uses different pronouns. So the major thing here is that we are no longer assuming gender based on someone's name, which is generally how we do it, or if we have Googled the person and we see a picture of them, you know, sometimes we assume a gender. But APA 7 makes it very clear that unless you know that the person's pronouns, then it is safest to use they, them, their. And the descriptive phrases, previously we had no guidelines about that. So people were often describing others by their condition or issue and not prioritizing their humanity. Oh. We have examples here in the case of drug users. So instead of saying drug users, which prioritizes their issue or condition, we say people who use drugs. So we're acknowledging their humanity, and the issue is something that they're dealing with. And the descriptive phrases are also geared towards making sure that we're describing people as people. For example, using gay men. So instead of the gays, or saying black men instead of the blacks. And here's one that most people didn't think of, but we all tend to do a lot in our writing. We're asked in APA 7 to be more specific about the age ranges that we're talking about. Instead of being vague and more general, if we are talking about a population from the age range of 65 to 75, we should specify that instead of saying people over 65. Right? Because really our work focused on people from the age of 65 to 75. So the descriptive phrases not only prioritize the humanity of a person, but it also requires us to be more specific in how we're referring to people and more cognizant of how we do that. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. And while I'm on this point, I forgot to mention that APA 7th officially got on the bandwagon of capitalizing the B in Black and brown when we are referring to people. So if you are using the lowercase b in Black, it would be assumed in APA 7 that you're talking about a color, not a person. But capitalizing the B in Black, the B in brown, acknowledges that you are talking about a specific group of people. Let's see, we have more font choices. People were using them anyway, so we might as well make them official. See the templates, the heading levels did change. And mostly the changes are to make the heading levels more visible in your paper. Everything is bold now. So you have bold italic, bolds with title case. And I have found that most writers tend to use the first 3 heading levels. So if you are very comfortable with heading levels 1, 2, and 3, you are probably gonna be fine for your writing. I have not found that people are super successful using heading level 4 or 5. But if you are comfortable with the first 3, that is going to take care of a lot of the writing that you do. And we have the use of quotation marks instead of italics for linguistic examples. And that is referenced in chapter 6. So a different formatting change here. Let me pull chat back up. Okay, didn't miss anything, good. Okay, I have a clarifying chat question just to verify, type in the paper. Right. So in the example of Black women, capital B, versus lowercase b in Black, the position of APA, and I think even the AP and some other style guides for journalism, and I think MLA as well has made this recommendation. So the idea is that the lowercase b in Black should be reserved for when you are referring to a color, like the black dog or the black chair. But when you are referring to people, particularly those who identify as Black, then it is respectful to capitalize the B in Black to differentiate it from being the color Black. We're talking about a particular set of people. Okay, glad to help. I am definitely a proponent of the capitalizing the B in Black and brown. So we get that. Okay. I have so many other things going on with this document. Thank you all for coming. If you need to leave, go ahead. And one of the things that I want to bring to your attention is the APA journal reporting standards. So if you plan to write, okay, so if you plan to publish, then I would encourage you to look at the APA journal reporting standards. This gives you clear or relatively clear guidelines of how and what you are expected to include when you are submitting a paper for publication, and particularly a research study. So if you are doing a quantitative study, you know, what does it look like? What should you include in your manuscript? Okay. And it's not just writers who are expected to follow the journal article reporting standards, or JARS as we call them. These are the standards that reviewers, editors, everyone should be following so that the work is consistent And JARS has been around for over a decade, but this is probably the first time that we've had such clear standards for how we are to report our findings and our data. Okay. So this chart shows you how you what you are expected to report for a quantitative study. And all of these are hyperlinked. So if your study involved experimental manipulation, you would follow table 2, and it gives you very clear, detailed information about what should be included here. Okay. And you have the same information for a qualitative study and mixed method study. So if you plan to publish, I recommend that you take a look at the JARS for your type of study. Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. I'm going to stop the share for a little bit and make sure I check in on folks. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, then I will end. I will absolutely update the document with examples of block quotes and provide links to the DOI checkers that I talked about. Let's see, is there anything else that we can think of that I need to add to the document? Well, you always have me as a reference. We can do a lot by email. Send me your questions. I will make sure that to the best of my ability, I will provide you a clear answer. I love a challenge. Sometimes I have to email the APA experts that actually work at APA. So I'm not going to say there aren't any dumb questions, but I won't make you feel dumb for asking. Okay. Well, if nothing else, I will end the workshop here and stop the recording. And